It's starting to become rare when I actually go to the cinema now with genuine curiosity to check out a movie. But recently there's been this annoying thing where Australia gets movies so much later than America. We don't even get The Lighthouse till February. Yeah, nah, not even gonna wait for the new Grudge to come out. But Underwater, I was genuinely keen to check this one out. I went in with optimism. This was also the first movie I've ever seen with Kristen Stewart in it, so I didn't have that bias, and I didn't know anything about it going into it. Ready to take this one seriously. The premise of the movie is that there is this massive drill/underwater station plunging down towards the ocean floor. A violent earthquake hits the station and it begins caving in and exploding. Kristen Stewart and a group of survivors must make their way further down towards the drill to access the escape pods that head back up to the surface. But it ain't gonna be that easy. Then the movie becomes Alien meets Deep Blue Sea with the appeal of Battle Los Angeles. There is so much stuff in this movie I really liked, but there's also a lot of stuff I hated. And so basically this review will be split up into my positives and negatives. And guess which will be the bigger of the two. Starting off my positives, and I genuinely want to be positive about a lot of aspects of this movie. The movie is called Underwater, and it nails its own title. All of the sets are wonderfully crafted, destroyed, and constantly dripping with water. So many different variants of flooded locations they have to make their way through. The set design and art direction was fantastic. It all felt like it could have caved in from the water pressure at any time. When our characters are making their way out into the ocean depths to walk their way to another station, there are these great shots inside Kristen Stewart's helmet, and you feel like you are in these terrifying situations. And some of the claustrophobic scenes are insane. The amount of scenes where the characters are crawling through the tightest squeezes of debris, swimming through tight corridors that are flooded, and as I said before, the shots inside Kristen Stewart's helmet while walking around the vast open spaces of the ocean make you feel like you can't breathe. The overall atmosphere of this movie is on point. The movie had gimmicks it set out to portray and it nails them. The claustrophobia, the tension, the fear of the ocean. Now onto how this film also ruins everything it gets right. The first problem with the movie instantly becomes the biggest. It started off promising, but then TJ Miller's character opens his fucking mouth and my god, he may as well be playing Weasel from Deadpool. The movie starts off with Kristen Stewart in the locker room brushing her teeth with seemingly no toothpaste, and then bam, the action begins instantly. The facility starts flooding and exploding, and I thought, oh, just gonna start strong. Sort of like a real-time tragedy. They find TJ Miller under some rubble, he cracks a few jokes, and I thought, guess this character is just sarcastic in a crisis. That's how he deals with it. But then, once the big plan is established to go deeper into the heart of the danger, they need to get into their Bioshock robot suits, and then this trashy rock music starts playing. First red flag, and TJ Miller is like,
if we're gonna do this, let's do this.
Second red flag. Then he goes, oh, is the music too much? And then he turns down a stereo. This character is officially the dumbest scripting and casting in this movie.
Worst idea ever.
And I love TJ Miller in the Deadpool movies. Just don't put him in a serious sci-fi horror thriller and let him come up with jokes and then keep them in the movie.
Worst idea ever.
Like Danny McBride wasn't a joke in Alien Covenant. He could have easily made that movie worse by being the comic relief, like the joke I put at the end of my very first review ever. Are you all thinking the same thing I was? That if they cast Danny McBride, they should just have made a movie called Kenny Powers vs. Alien?
Learn the language, dog. Yeah, well, hopefully when you go out there, you'll find your green card and surf on the fuck home.
This isn't a case of, if there wasn't as many jokes, then the film would have been 80% good rather than 50% good. This is a case of, once the first dumb joke is spoken, it taints your view. And once you start getting back into it, TJ Miller opens his fucking mouth and you're just sucked right out of it again. It's literally oil and water.
If we're gonna do this, let's do this. If we're gonna do this, let's do this.
If we do this, let's do this.
It's like taking the original Alien, and amongst the Nostromo crew, you add Jack Officer.
Wow, it's so pretty!
I've never seen anything like it.
Oh, cool beans! Oh, I don't know, this place is kind of nice. Uh-oh! Now I can be like all the other dads in South Park! Please help me!
Worst idea ever.
As I said before, so much of the craft in this movie is wonderful and on point. The tension is great. You start getting invested, but then TJ Miller will say anything, and then suddenly it's like, oh, these are all paid actors on a set pretending they're underwater being hunted by those fake internet images of ghosts, or El Chupacabras. Also, not ruling out jokes in a serious sci-fi horror movie. Sometimes you need to raise the spirits before you return back to the horror. But my god, not this humor. Like Hudson from Aliens. Very jokey at the start, not taking anything seriously, and he's just cracking wise. But this is his character. These aren't jokes for the audience. But once shit turns sideways, he's the one that freaks out the most. And then his arc is he then overcomes his fear and fights back. And then he dies a hero. TJ Miller's character. Dumb from the start, dumb throughout, dumb when he dies. But already being in a bad mood after the tension ruining gotta please all demographics with dumb jokes, dummy dumb, then I could focus on the film's other shortcomings, which I'll get into now, I'll get into the proper criticisms. Oh god, I'm still going with the awkward setup to the next point. Oh shit, sorry, I don't usually segue like this, but now I'm taking too long. Oh, I'll just get to the next point now, I guess. Well, this still hasn't stopped. I'm still in the transition to the next segment. Oh, this isn't funny anymore. How are you? How was your day? Do you like moon pie? Yeah, okay, sorry. That was awkward. The biggest comparison to this is obviously Alien, but I feel like as mysterious as that movie is, it still gives you so much information where you fully understand enough of the threat and world without being force-fed information. Where this movie just skips past everything with the quickest vague ADR lines and move on. But is this a case of, we've seen Alien, we've seen The Thing. If we over-explain everything too much, we'll be like those movies. Or are we now just living in this trilogy mindset screenwriting? We won't explain everything just yet because we can build on the threat in sequels. Which now makes the first movie feel lacking because there isn't enough time to get a sense of what these people are like outside of a crisis. And all the tension scenes are just glued together with shitty jokes. Now I went into this sort of knowing there were sea monsters, but they don't really give any sort of setup outside of while planning their escape someone goes, hey, listen to this distress signal. You hear a bunch of people screaming and then like a monster screaming noise, but then they're like, oh, that was crazy. Anyway, let's get back to planning our escape. Later on, they look at the wreckage of a destroyed escape pod and discover a little squid alien monster. It attacks them and then they kill it back instantly, and then they just have it in their sea vessel and they're like analyzing it. And then they start getting attacked by tentacle monsters outside of their vessel. As they make the long walk across the sea floor, they see these monsters in full that are like standing up on their hind legs while underwater. They get attacked a bunch of times. Kristen Stewart gets separated from the group, makes her way to another facility called the Shepherd. There she has an artsy film montage where she has a breakdown in the shower, has a coffee, looks at the weapons and the super yellow underwater upgrade suit. She suits up, gets ready to complete the plan. Seemingly a long time after she was separated from the group, she makes her way to the big drill, and whoa, the lady who was too scared to go out of the facility is dragging her useless boyfriend towards the drill. She's stuck in there. Don't really know how long until the oxygen runs out, but yeah, it's a movie. It's just an artistic expression without faults. Filthy critics like me nitpick too much. Anywho, all of a sudden the alien creatures vanish and then this giant Cthulhu monster shows up, and I thought, yeah, looks like Cthulhu. Actually, it looks more like the final monster at the end of either of the Pacific Rim movies, but then it was confirmed by the director that it's officially based off of Cthulhu, but it's not really Cthulhu. Make any underwater ending explained videos as you want, that's all they will say. But this isn't really a H.P. Lovecraft movie. It just has a Cthulhu-looking monster in it. And right there, wouldn't that be amazing? That once it shows up, all the characters then just go insane and the whole rest of the movie's like an acid trip. But anyway, Cthulhu shows up, and it's like, whoa, that's what destroyed the facility before. Then it comically tries to attack the humans personally. Like, oh, I hate those pesky humans. There's one of those trailer lines early on where someone's like, we took something away from Mother Nature. Now she's taking it back. But whatever, without any proper setup, the monster and threat could have easily been swapped out with anything. You could have swapped out Cthulhu with like a massive volcanic outburst from drilling into the earth too much, and it would have had the same outcome. But that's just the creatures. The monsters are fine. No issue with this movie having creatures in it at all, although there's probably too many goddamn jump scare sound effects when you see them. They just feel a bit lacking because of my other issue with the movie. Who or what is this company that made the drill? This is where this movie needed its own Wayland Yutani, a shady corporation that built this ridiculous drill with some kind of agenda. Because with this movie having no setup to before the drill station exploded, you don't get any sense of anyone. You see people die at the start that Kristen Stewart couldn't save, and then when she meets up with the captain, she's like, oh, so-and-so died. And he's like, oh no, not so-and-so. And it's like, yeah, cool. Name dropping isn't really world building. And just like the teasers in the opening credits, this movie does the same at the end with article headlines like, company refuses to give information of the incident, survivors aren't allowed to give statements. hinting at some dodgy cover-up, and it's like, ugh, why do this now? This movie isn't even that long. This movie would have benefited from an extra 15 to 20 minutes added at the start. Seeing all of the characters throughout the film interacting in their everyday life. Life on the drill station. We get to know them a bit first, so their character development isn't rushed throughout the tense scenes. The characters can discuss aspects of the company and what they're drilling for. Like, they talk about children and pets that they have back home with like current fond memories, but they imply in other ways that they've been on the station for years. They needed some setup of like, can't wait to finish my service on the drill station because I got major plans with my family when I get back home. Finally gonna build that dream house I've been talking about. Gonna take my kids to Disneyland. Show the characters hopeful before you take that hope away with this tragedy. The company is pressuring them to keep drilling in a certain part of the ocean. They're all second guessing why. The earth is unstable in that section. Well, orders are orders. What did the company find out? Who cares? Just drill. This film just feels like all payoff with no setup. With the frustrating humor, the lack of company establishment, seeing who all these characters are before they're thrown into the chaos, it all just feels bland. Was on the right path, but ultimately unmemorable. Sequel bait isn't really a good excuse for a lack of a detailed setup. It's just a shame because for the most part, this movie has more production value than a mindless turn your brain off horror movie. It nails its gimmicks of claustrophobia and being trapped at the bottom of the ocean. It just needed a more interesting script and commit to the sci-fi horror. It doesn't need the trash, awkward, self-referential dry humor. An honest rating of $6 out of $11. If you're desensitized to American cringe, tension, ruining humor, then yeah, go check it out. At some point, TJ Miller is like, this is like some 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea shit.
Remember 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea? Oh, I sort of remember. More like remember Alien? Oh yeah, I remember. Remember Deep Blue Sea? Yeah, I remember that too. Remember The Abyss? Nah, only James Cameron remember.